It's been maybe another 15 minutes or so. I feel a little bit of coldness going through, which is another thing that it's supposed to do, right? Because it's ice. So it's gotta make you cold. My feet are getting cold and my feet are getting cold and my fingertips tingle. Oh, there's a mosquito. There's mosquitoes here. It's not too bad though. Yeah, I'm gonna go lay down, maybe cover up. Getting cold. About time. Jeez, it's my third cup. I knew something was not really fully activated. It's such an accumulative process, you know. Sometimes we want instant effects, but a lot of the times when you do the diet, especially when you are doing it with old school, serious kind of shamanism, you know, you don't eat much, you get weak, you don't eat salts, you don't eat things, get kind of bored at times. Sometimes you wonder, why am I doing this? Am I even getting effects from it? Is this worth it? Where is this going? Sometimes you feel negative and you feel drained and you're just like, what's the point? And then you close the diet and you realize why you were doing all this. You feel stronger, clear-minded, heart open, new strength, clarity, visions, will, manifestations. You notice like things are starting to come into your life in a good way. And also when you're drinking the medicine, you like ayahuasca, you realize that you can hold space much better. You're less shaky, more firm, less negativity, you know, you feel clearer. So that's why I do it. I've been in Peru now for probably 3 months, since June, July, August. So it's almost September. I think it's like 26th right now of August. And I think I want to go for another 2 to 3 months more. Just keep building layers up on the work. I feel like I'm attaining something. Already I've attained something, you know. Because just coming here, I was, like a couple of weeks before, a month before in anticipation, I was just laying there in bed like, oh my God, what am I getting myself into? What's it gonna be like? Is it gonna be darkness and fighting, and it's gonna be intense and all this? And it's been a lot more of a gentle process than I anticipated, because it's gradual, layer by layer. You can also go way more intense right away, but I would say that my initial experiences with ayahuasca were really intense. I had big doses, I went deep, probably deeper than I should have gone at the time. I mean, obviously my journey was meant to be the way it was, but knowing what I know about the medicine, the right way of doing it is gradually cleansing your body and going deeper gradually. That's the proper way of doing it. But, you know, in America, people want to have the experience, the spiritual experience. So the shamans come into town, they give you a big dose for 3 days or so. And sometimes people don't even see anything. They either fall asleep or just throwing up. But if you do see, you can go deep into spiritual battles before you're really ready for it. obviously the medicine not going to give you more than what you're ready for, but in the sense of integration, you come back from the experience. For a lot of people, they've gone through a shock, and it's hard for them to integrate. They don't have the tools to integrate. They can't fully make sense of it, and they're traumatized. In my case, I've already had the tools before I've ever drank the ayahuasca. Otherwise, I would have been traumatized. My initial experience, shamanic death, was very traumatizing. It's very awakening, and I was never the same after that, and thank God for that experience. But it took me a couple of months to integrate what I saw. Imagine thinking that, spirit world was some sort of metaphor to all of a sudden being awakened in the spirit world and seeing everything vividly, spiritual things, feeling everything, eternity, death, life, conflicts, how everything is interconnected, your mistakes, your past lives, your ancestral connections, feeling your grandparents in you and your behaviors and patterns, you name it. And it's not like you're just reading a book, you're experiencing this. It's a very humbling experience, and you want to stop it, you want to control it, you want to do stuff, but you can't control it with your ego. So it challenges your ego, and the ego wants to live, but it's finite and forced to surrender, and then you're free. It's the beauty of medicine, beauty of plants. But it's got to be connected to source of God. If it's not, you're also connecting energetically to finite things, spirits and deities and entities and whatever else. And you see more and more in this world now what is written in the book in terms of not putting any gods before me, as God says. Don't put any false gods before me. Don't have idols before me, or you will suffer. But it's normal. It's normal to look around and other nations and how people pray to so many different deities, even if they give them power temporarily. It's a short source of energy comparing to eternal source of energy. And over the years that I've been drinking ayahuasca, I have personally seen the difference. This is why my faith grew so much stronger in Judaism and Kabbalah. And I say Kabbalah because I think it's important to study Jewish mysticism, not just Jewish law like halacha, which is very important as well, because you need to be grounded. You need earth and spirit needs to be together. Otherwise you're going to fly away, or you're just going to be drowned in earthy things. I see that the Jewish people have been grounded, because back in the day they were very spiritual, but then they were starting to worship idols, and so the rabbis came and they closed the doors. And now Jewish people, gosh, if you mention any kind of psychedelic, it's like some embrace it, but generally the Hasidic Judaism, it's like, oh my God, that's forbidden. What is that? And it's not forbidden. What's forbidden is to worshiping idols is forbidden. The medicine has to merge with your worship of God. If you do that in the correct way, then you are bringing the true sparks of light onto earth through your body. They get grounded. You're bringing it down because you're connecting through your vessel. If you get into magic, manipulation of forces, worshiping deities, worshiping Mother Earth, worshiping things that God created but not God himself, and different nations sometimes have different gods. What is Ganesh? It's an elephant. What is the golden calf? It's the bull. What are these other things that people worship? Obviously, idols like money and physical things, and then of course there's the dark forces that people worship, which pertain to body and making yourself, the ego, be God. And that's just gonna kills your soul. Fetishes, things you fall in love with on planet Earth, that are beautiful on the outside and give you pleasures, short pleasures, but make you feel like they're God for a moment there. Think of how you feel when you fall in love with someone you don't even know. What are you falling in love with? Lust, lustful feelings, they're very powerful, don't get me wrong. Probably the biggest downfall of men. Lust is probably the hardest thing to deny, to see through it. Can you imagine that it's just an empty shell? How? It's beautiful, but any pleasures of the physical world don't compare to the pleasures in heavens. And that's where God says to be patient, here and do your work. Don't focus too much on the temporary things, because you're not going to take it with you. But we follow examples, and often the teachers and people we learn from, they don't do it right. You see what's advertised in billboards and the way they push certain agenda, and those things are not for our higher good, but because everybody's doing it. Soda, everybody's drinking soda, so that must be okay. But is it? Is it really good for you? You gotta have discernment. And sometimes you don't get taught the things that are right. Even in religion, there's a lot of things that are manipulated and things like that. You have to really find that diamond and cleanse it, same thing in religion, you have to find the gem, you have to know what's right. The Jewish people, they drink the wine, they drink the grape juice. To me, it's like a grape juice comparing to ayahuasca, truly the spiritual wine. And I think that's the biggest flaw, which will get corrected, but in my opinion, that's the biggest flaw. I think if the Jewish people started drinking real wine, ayahuasca wine, instead of grape juice or grape wine, I think sometimes it's okay, but not all the time. I think you should also go into the spirit world, really go into spirit and address and heal and cleanse and pray to God, really bring the light down onto earth. And I think more than anybody that has to do that work properly is the Jewish people, because they have obligation. And they're not doing that. Majority of them are not doing that. They're reading the Torah, they keep holy, they know the law, they know how to do holy things. It's amazing. But that's like first grade comparing to really going into that space. And it's not very comfortable. It's not ecstasy, it's not pleasure. It becomes pleasure when you do it right, when you cleanse. It can definitely be very pleasurable. You could tap into some really powerful, positive emotions. But initially, it's purging, cleansing, being afraid, going to the dark side, to the shadows. And other nations, they do it. They're drinking the wine. But they don't have the Torah. They don't have true names of angels, true names of God. They don't worship the right. They don't worship correctly. They do magic. I'm not even talking about, the black magic and all that, what is that? That's selfish. Why do people do that? They're disconnected. They're disconnected from true source. They're connecting to certain powers. They want revenge. They're attacking people. They're manipulating. They're stealing. These are all forbidden things. There's going to be consequences. But I'm not even talking about that. Take the white magic. People that are connecting to positive light and stuff. But if it's not God, if it's not eternal creator, why would you connect to an elephant, for instance, or Ganesh? Why would you connect to some kind of, goddess of some sort? Doesn't matter if it gives you power for a minute. It's going to come to collect at some point. Or if you're worshiping Mother Earth, or you're worshiping trees, or you're worshiping winds or oceans, or even though those things have power, obviously an ocean is very powerful, but it's after creation. God created it. There was God first, then he creates things. So it's an illusion to give yourself over to it. You could appreciate it, you could learn from it, you could draw a certain amount of energy from it, but you got to remember who the true creator is, who made them, and you got to know God by name. That's my experience. That's what I realized. The difference is when you worship God by name, you really worship Hashem the right way, you get so much light, so much empowerment, so much protection, so much consistency and consistent light in your life. Other things, they leave you empty. Then you seek more of it. That's what I've become aware of. I've become aware of this a while ago, but I just see it more and more. Once you know the difference, everything in the dual world and the physical world is in contrast. You don't know hot until you know cold, and you don't know God unless you know the falsehood, If you fed only light and only true source all the time, you wouldn't know the difference. That's what happened to Adam in the beginning. Adam was eternally happy, joy, everything, but Adam and Eve, they wanted to gain the knowledge of good and evil, good and bad. So they did. And they fell. They disconnected, and now we have to work for this light. But we have the knowledge. We have the knowledge of the dual world, the duality, the contrast. That's why we have the free will. We can choose. If it's all one, you don't have much choice. Even if you're happy, you may not have the contrast. That's why it says that this world, the physical world, when the heavens will be merged with the physical world, truly merged, it will be better than any heaven above. The two worlds will come together as one. And that's the coming of the Mashiach, Messiah. That's what we're waiting for. And the world to come, Olam Haba. And that's the only true focus that's worth anything. Because everything else is temporary. It's like a fleeting thought. That's what life is like here on earth. And you want to spend that precious time investing your soul into temporary things? That would be such a mistake. I mean, you'll probably come back again, and then again, and again. Eventually, you're going to do it right, because that's all there is. So for me, I I know what the right thing to do, and I'm still, tempted at times and things, but less and less. The more wisdom I gain, the less I'm tempted. It's like you learn to derive pleasure out of simple things in life.